Hello, everyone. Thanks for attending today's webinar. I'm Oreen from Cascale. I'm pleased to kick off today's webinar CAF 1.7, FSLM CAF 1.7 webinar. Today, we will be providing a comprehensive update about Higg FSLM CAF 1.7. You will be hearing from Cascale, Worley, and SLCP about the key updates. Before we start, we can quickly, we can see here most of the attendees are muted. If you have any questions, please go to Q&A button, which you can see in the bottom of your screen, and post your questions there. I would also like to thank all the people who have posted the question in advance, and those questions will be answered during the session. And what you can expect in this whole webinar, the agenda is in the next slide. That is the introduction. I will be introducing the panelists, and at the same time, you can see in the screen there are three organizations: Cascale, Worley, and SLCP. Will be quick brief presentation about the introduction about all three organizations, followed by CAF version 1.7 update from SLCP. We will also update on Higg FSLM scoring methodology and risk methodology. But I want to give you a quick input here. There is no changes in the rule. It's just kind of an update for everyone. If you are a newcomer or a new adopter, it would be good to understand. And if you're already using, it's kind of a refresher. So this is an update given today. And we also have an update from Worley about the platform update for CAF 1.7, followed by Q&A session. So I would be, I'm very pleased to introduce today's panelist, Adelaide from Worley, Project Manager, Higg Index Facility Tool, Suzanne from SLCP, Senior Manager, Assessment and Data Quality. With this, let me start introducing what exactly Cascale does. What is Cascale? A very brief update. Cascale is a global non-profit, and this organization was being formed as to work towards to have a fair business practices to have for a consumer goods industry. Earlier, we were known as Sustainable Apparel Coalition, or SAC, which was formed for to build a sustainable common sustainable platform or a measurement tool. And Cascale now focuses on having a collective action to help the industry to move towards for real and lasting changes. Spanning around 300 organizations across 37 countries, we unitely have a one shared vision is to be global consumer goods industry to give more than what we take from people and planet. Cascale as membership includes the industries such as apparel, footwear, home furnishing, outdoor, and bags, luggage companies. With this, I will hand it over to Adelaide to introduce about Worley.
Hi, everybody. My name is Adelaide Jessica, as Irene said, and I'm excited to be joining you today on behalf of Worley. Worley is Cascale's largest partner and the leading data and insights platform for supply chain and sustainability. We service brands, retailers, manufacturers, and facilities, and they all use Worley to collect and share high-resolution primary data specific to their supply chain, their operations, and their products. We focus on environmental impacts, such as carbon and water and chemicals, as well as social and labor metrics to help companies understand their true impact. Worley hosts the Higg Index tools, our own insights and analytics hub, and many features of the Fair Factories Clearinghouse, and much more. I'll pass it over to Suzanne to talk a little bit about the SLCP. Thanks.
Hi, Susanna here. So the Social and Labor Convergence Program, SLCP, is a multi-stakeholder initiative, and we are committed to driving decent working conditions in global supply chains through our Converged Assessment Framework. So the CAF, the Converged Assessment Framework, is a common framework without scoring or value judgment that companies and facilities can use to assess compliance against social and labor indicators. We collect a lot of social and labor information, the assessment data, and that can then be shared unlimited with business partners via the gateway and also SLCP accredited hosts. And Worldly is our active accredited host partner who is implementing the CAF. And Cascale is our partner who is putting scoring and value judgment on the CAF. So we do not put on the scoring and value judgment, but partners can. So that is how you can use the data, share it with as many organizations and individuals as you want to definitely remediate audit fatigue. That is a big challenge out there in the social audit industry. So on the right here, you can see some keywords about SLCP, where we definitely want to work towards credible and actionable data in a flexible environment and promote facility ownership of that data so you can decide with whom you want to share it. On the next slide, I will then move into the CAF version 1.7 updates. So CAF version 1.7 has three main things that are going to be launched today, right now. We made the assessment completion simpler and easier. So first off, we are supporting the facility tool now also in Spanish. So facilities can read the questions and guidance in Spanish, as well as Turkish, Vietnamese, Chinese, and English. And you need to answer the questions, though, in English. So that's really important, but at least you can understand the questions and the scope in Spanish. We have also introduced a different question flow. We used feedback from our verifier bodies, and the facilities to influence how we are asking the questions now, in what order. We also want to work towards more credible, actionable data by introducing very specific numeric data types. So in the past, we've gotten numbers that might not have made sense for a specific question. Instead of a whole number, we got a decimal. So we want to avoid that by enforcing specific numeric data types. And we do that then also with the help of Worldly. And we have changed questions to be able to more easily identify legal non-compliances. So that is definitely for the users of the data. When they read the report, they can now more easily understand where there is a legal non-compliance. Apart from that, we also have a very strategic goal to further align our tool with human rights due diligence, so HRDD. And for CAF version 1.7, as well as for future versions, because HRDD was very fluid and changing a lot, we are adding new questions or changing questions. And so that happened for version 1.7, specifically in 5 areas of the tool: grievance mechanisms, meaningful stakeholder engagement and worker involvement, worker turnover, climate impact on workers, and privacy rights. So stay tuned also for those additions. They are mainly in step 2 of our tool. You may know we have a step 1, which addresses fundamental questions, mainly law-based and also following international labor standards from the ILO, the International Labor Organization. Step 2 then introduces a few more law-based questions, but usually those that are more in standards and codes of conduct of brands, as well as focusing on management systems. And then in step 3, we go above and beyond, looking at worker well-being and other additional aspects of social and labor compliance and frameworks. So these changes for HRDD are mainly in step 2. Then also we are supporting our data quality and integrity. And we are doing this by reminding facilities that they need to uphold our CAF terms of use and their commitment to honest data. So we are requiring verifiers in the opening meeting now to address honest data with facilities, and then to also point towards the CAF terms of use that every facility signs when they create a profile on our SLCP gateway and start their assessment. We also introduced a mandatory offsite day already in version 1.6, but we need to make it much clearer to verifiers, verifier bodies, and also the facility that this is a mandatory requirement. We want verifiers to be given an offsite day to prepare for the verification, so to review the self-assessment, and then also to focus on report writing and quality review. So as you know, there is the self-assessment, the verification, and then the sharing of the data. And so on the self-assessment part, the verifier receives the report in advance. They can then review the report to prepare. We want that offsite day time to be used for that. And then during the verification and closing, the verifier has to write a lot of narrative. There are new requirements now to include mandatory narrative on specific questions. And so the verifier needs to have enough time to be able to do that, as well as quality review, which is mandatory for every verifier body to review the report after it's completed. So all of that takes time, and we wanted to give the verifiers and verifier bodies enough time to do that through this mandatory offsite day requirement. Again, it's not a new requirement, but we want to make it much clearer now, so facilities and verifier bodies understand it better. We have a new requirement, and that is for facilities that need to support 5 or more worker languages. That means that there are workers who do not understand a common language, such as perhaps Chinese or English in the facility. They don't speak multiple languages. They only speak their one native tongue. And because of that native language, then the facility has to, through supervisors, through management, then support that language. So you can imagine there are not that many facilities out there who actually have to support 5 or more worker languages, but we do have some. And we want to ensure that the verification team, through the worker interviews, can support multiple languages. Right now, the requirement, well, let's say yesterday, the requirement was to only support the top 2 languages. Today, now with the launch of version 1.7, the requirement is to support the top 3 languages if a facility has a worker population that has to speak 5 or more languages. So yes, that may increase the cost of the verification, because the verification team has to either be larger or you have to employ interpreters to support you. But we think it's really important for the credibility and integrity of the data to have insight into these more vulnerable groups. Throughout 2025, so not today at the launch, but in the next few months, rolling throughout the year of 2025, we're going to introduce also future technical enhancements. There will be a new role on the Worldly platform. So verifiers use the Worldly platform to enter the verification data, as well as also then review the final report. And we want to enable a specific quality assurance reviewer role on Worldly so that the verifier body can enter with that specific profile to review and complete the report. Again, quality data is important here. Also, to make things easier for facilities, especially small facilities, we will introduce the option for verification only. Facilities with less than 50 employees doing an SLCP verification for the very first time will be able to do verification only. So again, it's usually self-assessment, verification, and sharing of data. In this case, they won't need to do a self-assessment. They can immediately move to verification. And we hope that that will make things also easier for new facilities and small facilities. We will also introduce Italian. So the facility tool will be translated into Italian. We saw that there was a need for that last year. And so that will be available alongside Latin American Spanish, Vietnamese, Turkish, Chinese, and English. Also, we will allow facilities to share information about their facility circumstances and their data, their labor, social and labor data with brands ahead of finalization of the report. So normally, after verification is completed, the facility reads the report. The facility has to finalize the report to ensure, everything is correct. They need to read and finalize it, and then they share it. Now, even before the report is finalized, there is the possibility for facilities to keep their key partners, brands, updated. So the facility can decide to do that and opt in to notify brands of important findings prior to even the report being completed and finalized. And then lastly, we do allow the assessment to be deleted. The facility owns the data, there's ownership over the process, and the facility is allowed to delete the data. But we are going to put some increased restrictions on that to only allow the deletion of data before verification is going on. But after verification, we will no longer allow the assessment deletion. It is then up to the facility to just not share the data and keep it on the gateway, but we will not allow deletion of the data. So those are the key summary changes. But in the next slide, you can see that we actually held our own launch webinar on the 18th of March. And we have a recording of that. It was a full hour where we shared all the details. We shared examples of the human rights due diligence questions that were added. We shared how users can more easily now identify non-compliances. So there are a lot of details there. So please watch our webinar. And we also have updated information on our help desk to share with you what the differences are between version 1.6 and 1.7. If you want to, as a facility, go through the new 1.7 self-assessment in practice mode, or see all the questions that are available to you for version 1.7, those resources are all on our help desk. So with that, on the next slide, I will pass on to Aureen to talk about Higg FSLM.
Thank you, Suzanne. And I would also encourage, to everyone to go through the materials which Suzanne just did say from SLCP platform, because before you start the CAF module, it will give you more insight and clear updates, and it would be easy for you to start working when you're working on SLCP on CAF FSLM. So when it comes to FSLM, it is the abbreviation, the full form is Facility Social Labor Module. What is the role of CAF when it comes to FSLM? So Cascale has adopted, or the backbone of FSLM is CAF. And that is been the add-on services which has been provided by Cascale is giving a risk methodology and scoring methodology. In the next slide, we can see. Can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah, when we go to the next slide, in this slide, we can see there are two methodology which we work on, risk and scoring methodology. The risk here is, the risk methodology is something which helps to categorize as per the severity of labor and social compliances, which falls under how the facility to look at the issues and how the improvement plan has to be done. The risk category also associates with score. So every risk category has a score associated. The reason because it also helps the facility to see the performance, to see the percentage and see where I can work on, and to start having a focus on which can improve in building the social and labor conditions. So that's the reason we have two methodologies, which is reciprocating with each other. In the next slide, we can look at what are the risk categorization and the definition. Here we have three categorization. Basically, there are four, which comes in the next slide. Zero tolerance, high risk, and medium risk. When it comes to zero tolerance is basically which is being the fundamentally follow the Better Work Zero Tolerance protocol and ILO core conventions. Whichever falls on that basket is categorized under zero tolerance, which also needs a necessity immediate intervention so that we can have the actions are being taken immediately. When it comes to high risk is which is not a zero tolerance, doesn't fall, but however, which also falls under ILO core labor standards and needs an urgent corrective action plan where it prevents from escalations. That means into zero tolerance, which needs an immediate action and where we can focus and work on. Medium risk is something which falls under like where it needs a corrective action plan and a timeline, which also mitigates the risk. Further, there is no high risk or a zero tolerance. So to mitigate anything which falls under is called medium risk. When we see the categorization, we have put in all these things as per these definition. It has been categorized in such way. In the next slide, we can see there is a legal compliance. So what does legal compliance mean? It's a very simple thing. The question anything comes with legal requirement is like falls under legal compliance. For example, if any question says, does the facility has fire alarm as per legal requirement? So since it has been tagged as legal requirement, all those questions are being categorized under legal requirement. So these are the 4 definitions and categorization. When you see the report, you can see, you can refer to this. In the next slide, we can see the quick number of categorizations and question which falls under each risk level. So when it comes to zero tolerance, it is only like 64 number is a zero tolerance. We have 210 high risk, 309 medium risk, and 337 of legal compliance. So when it comes to legal compliance also, there's again, I want to quote the same example of, do you have a fire alarm as per legal requirement? So it doesn't only come under legal requirement categorization, but it might also be under like high risk or a medium risk. So it might also come under the categorization of medium risk or high risk. So that's where you can see the higher numbers. So the legal requirement can be also a zero tolerance or a high risk or a medium risk. So that's how the categorizations are being made. So as I said, every categorization is associated with scores. So higher the risk, higher the scores are being allocated. When we see here, the scores for zero tolerance, high risk, and medium risk and low are 20, 10, and 5 respectively. The reason, because if the highest score is being given, if a facility has a risk score of zero tolerance of out of 100 have got 90%, it means the 10% is not meeting. It means the immediate intervention is needed there. So we wanted to show that higher score of losing so that there is immediate work to be done. So that's how the higher scores are being given for the higher risk level. In the next slide, we can see a few the scoring rules. All the sections are being scored. However, the facility profile is not being scored. Only the one question which is being scored is about valid operational license. For instance, if a facility is not complying with, there is no valid operational license, regardless their performance in any sections or steps or risk level, the whole the section will be 0. Reason, because we feel the having a valid operational license is a basic thing to have for any facility to start with. Other than that, as I explained earlier, every score comes with a risk level. Higher the risk, higher the points are being valued. The scorings are as per the percentages. So when you see the scoring card, it comes with the percentage. It is not in the numerical form. We also have one more category, which is called legal flag. So this legal flag can only be reflected when the verification is completed, which is called FSLM, Verified Facility Social Labor Module. The reason, because here the verifier goes in person, verifies the factory, and during the verification, if a verifier finds any kind of non-conformity or a violation, which is as per the law of the land, that can be tagged as legal compliance or a flag of a legal compliance as per the geography where the facility is being located. So that is a flag question that can be changed as per the location where the facility is being situated. We also have like questions scores are being varied from this category, which is being pre-assigned. Also, we have few exceptions where the questions are being not scored, which we can see in the next slide. The exceptions here are wherever we have like numerical data or a text data or a quantifying data, those data are not being scored. It has to be verified. Or numerical data about wages, that has to be verified, and the verifier has to be writing a notes if it is not meeting as what it is been explained during the self-assessment. Reason because we are not able to come to a consensus or a logic how to score a numerical data or a text, anything which comes with the text. So that's the reason these data are not being scored. At the same time, the entire facility profile is also not scored because it's a profiling about a facility, about their processes, how many workers, so it's not been scored. Having said that, only one question which has been scored, which is very critical, that is about the business license. And if the business license is not valid, the entire section or entire module will come with the scoring of 0. And the scoring, what we have are section score, step score, and risk score. So we have given the scores for each scores are with 100 points or a percentage here. This is a standardized approach we wanted to give and for an easy understanding. So also to give an example, if a supplier or a facility which is working and they have overall overall achievable score in the recruitment and hiring section as 500 with all the accumulated of risk level, the achievable score would be 500, and the facility has achieved 250. It has been like 250 divided by 500 and the percentage is 50. So that is the simple calculation which has been made so that we can evaluate and put an easy calculation when you are understanding. Step scores, as Suzanne has very well explained about the steps, step 1, 2, and 3, and the whole tool itself is it comes that either you can do only step or step 1 and step 1 or 2 or all the 3 steps as per the requirements which has been asked for you. It shows as per that. If the facility has done only step 1, there is only step 1 reflecting, not step 2 and 3. And if the facility has done the self-assessment on all the 3 steps, but only verified on the step 1, only step 1 verified scores will be assigned. And that's the aggregated score with the risk level which has been associated with that step. And also the step 1 is all about 7 sections, and step 1 and 2 and 3 is one section or one chapter which is there. So that's how it is being done. The risk score is about 0 tolerance, high risk, and medium risk. With this, it's the same logic which goes when it comes to the section score. Highest achievable score and achieved score and divided by that with the percentage. For example, if a highest score of achievable score can be 1,000 when it comes to high risk, and achievable, the facility has achieved 200, the percentage is 20. So that is how it is been calculated. The reason why these calculations are being done and given the percentage, a facility will be able to understand how to focus, where to focus. If I'm losing higher side and 0 tolerance, that is the immediate thing which I need to focus on. Medium risk, some things have been there. I need to start working on a corrective action plan with a specific timeline. So that's the reason these percentages have been given for an easy understanding. So in the next slide, we have also if a facility was doing doing their assessment from 1.3 and 4, they might have seen total score. Right now, total score is being removed from January 2023 in CAF 1.5 version itself. The reason because it was one weighted score. It was unable to give you enough detail about actionable insight. We wanted facility to focus on specific things so that you can have a meaningful information and help you to understand, better understanding, to have a specific action plan. That's the reason we have a section score, risk score, and step score. But if a facility or a brand wants to develop their own total score, it's up to them. But from Cascale's methodology, it's only 3 scores are being reflected, it has been given for the users to start using and start working on. And to overall summarize, in the next slide, while we are sharing this document to you, you can see this is an overall summary. 0 tolerance, what is the points comes associated with that, the scores associated with that, and few examples what falls under zero tolerance, high risk, and medium risk, and what is the severity level. So this is kind of a quick snapshot for understanding. With this, I will hand it over to Adelaide for further giving more information about the updates on Worldly platform.
Thank you so much, Irene. And thank you, Susanna and Irene, for the deep insights and like the deep conversation about what's changing and this scoring, just in case people are new or needed the refresher. So Worldly is the place to complete the FSLM assessment with the latest CAF framework and those updates and to get that scoring. And in addition to that, there are a couple other features that I would like to highlight. So first, Worldly can help with collaboration. For example, facilities. When facilities are completing the assessment, we support multiple people working on the same assessment together. And for brands, we can help you communicate, request, and track these FSLM assessments with our adoption tool and our customer success services. We can help make sure that you get to collaborate with your facilities to get this assessment completed. For example, with last year's FSLM assessment, we tracked 319 campaigns to help collect this primary data with facilities. And secondly, we can help facilities with features to help them significantly reduce the time it takes to complete the FSLM assessment. For facilities that have previously completed an FSLM assessment, we can help you roll forward the qualitative data points from your prior assessments. This means that static data points like your address or site information can be pre-filled and save you time. Of course, there are quantitative values like dates and these permits and counts that we don't want to roll forward, since those will need to be refreshed every year. And finally, we think the most important benefit of Worldly is our network effect. We have hundreds of major brands that are already connected to the Higg FSLM and to the Fair Factories Clearinghouse, the FFC. And we can help you share we can help facilities share their one assessment easily with their entire supply chain partners. But the next thing I want to point out for users is the areas of focus and improvement dashboard that exists on the Worldly platform. So on the next slide, thank you. Irene talked a lot about the scoring and how the scoring is categorized into different priorities, the zero tolerance issues, the high, medium, and low risk issues. And so as you complete your FSLM assessment and you post it and you finalize and you get that score back, this dashboard is an amazing place for you to go look at those key areas that are things that you as a facility should probably focus on and things that are contributing to your score. So we display the areas where a facility could improve their practices and thus improve their score, along with some general recommendations that come from Cascale to help support the facility taking action. Much like you saw above, everything is categorized into the tiers of risk, high, medium, and low, as well as zero tolerance issues. And just as a reminder, this is only visible after your self-assessment is posted, because that is when your score is displayed. So that's the ASC status. If you're looking to navigate towards this dashboard, I have a little screenshot on the side. So you'll see, oh, sorry. So you'll want to go into the assessments portion of the Worldly platform, which is up on that top nav bar. And under assessments, you'll be able to select into the FSLM area of the platform, which will give you all the information for FSLM. If you have multiple FSLM assessments on the Worldly platform, you'll need to navigate into the specific one you'd like to review. And under the results heading is where you'll see this dashboard, along with the dashboard for legal compliance issues, again, like Irene talked about, that might have been found during verification. So the results section is where you'll see all of these kind of dashboards to help you parse through the outcome of your FSLM. And again, don't hesitate to reach out to Worldly support and the Worldly team if you're finding it difficult to navigate to this portion of the platform. In addition to these dashboards and these recommendations, I'd also like to provide a summary of the educational resources that Worldly offers that will help you both begin or continue your FSLM journey. So here on this slide, you'll find the links to all of our educational services related to the FSLM, and most of these are on the Worldly Learning Center, which anyone with a Worldly ID can access. I believe this deck will be shared out for all participants, so you'll be able to click the links embedded here as well. So the first thing I want to mention is that we have some general getting started with FSLM courses, and we have them specifically designed for both a facility viewer and for a brand. With the facility, we're going to help instruct you on completing the assessment, completing that FSLM and those CAF questions. And the second, the brand focus, will help brands both use and find value in gathering and aggregating FSLM assessments. The third one here is for our users that are familiar with the FSLM and looking just to understand more about the specifics in the 1.7 version of the CAF. We have added the 1.7 specifics submodule to our courses. As Susanna, though, mentioned, we do recommend getting all of the details from their webinar because they'll be able to go into much more examples about what exactly is changing between the versions. And then finally, we have some support articles and frequently asked questions on our support.worldly.io site. And we're happy to answer any more questions that you may have, so don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you so much for your time, and I will pass it back to Irene.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today. I'm jumping in. My name is Emily Kronberger. I am with Cascale on our Marcom team. Just sharing a very quick reminder to, if you have not already, to please register for our Cascale Forum, which is coming up in about 1 month on May 14th and 15th in Ho Chi Minh City. We are very excited for this immersive 2-day event, really designed to drive meaningful change. So I wanted to share the link to register here. You can also learn more about the event on Cascale's website, but just sharing some of the highlights here as well, chances for networking, very tailored programs, and of course, unmatched impact to address some of the key challenges that our industry is facing at the moment. Again, this is on May 14th and 15th, and prices will go up next week on April 17th, so please make sure you take the chance to register today and get your tickets. And with that, I will go ahead and pass it back to Irene to share a survey reminder before we jump into Q&A. Thank you.
Thanks, Emily. A quick thing, this survey is very much needed for us, and it takes less than 30 seconds to respond. Please respond to the survey because it will help us to develop or get feedback on the webinars which we do. So kindly respond to the survey. With this, we can go ahead and look at the Q&As, which questions which we have received.
Perfect. And hi, everyone. Johnny Castorino on the Worldly team. I am on the Worldly marketing team. It looks like we do have a few questions. I'll start reading all of those off. And Maureen, Adelaide, and Suzanne, please jump in with any answers as you have them. The first question that we have is, what are the key updates included in the Higg FSLM CAF version 1.7? Who'd like to jump in with the answer there? Suzanne, Maureen?
So we reviewed the major updates just now with regards to changing some of the question flow, looking at human rights due diligence additions, updating questions so that it's clearer to identify the non-compliance, supporting the new languages Spanish and then later on in the year Italian as well. We're rolling out also into 44 new countries. So again, I did post also a link to everyone on the help desk for SLCP. What are the major changes? It's the first link, so go to that and you can see a summary of those changes. On the Higg FSLM scoring side, there is no change to scoring. It's just that, of course, with new questions, changes in questions, then the scoring is just applied to those questions, but there's no change in the methodology of the scoring.
Perfect. Thank you.
The only other thing I'll mention, Johnny, just before we move on, is the recommendations that come from Cascale, in addition to helping you try to improve and focus on different areas that are might be lacking or might be missing in your assessment. It'll also help improve your score should you be looking for that.
Just add on to when it comes to the recommendations, these are very general recommendations. If facility can go ahead and further work on best practices or any other further things which they want to work on, it's general idea of recommendations which has been done to see how exactly industry is working and how very generic.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone. Okay, the next question that we have is for those who have purchased CAF version 1.6, how long will that version be available?
That's a great question, and we just got confirmation from the SLCP. So with the launch of the 1.7 version, you will no longer be able to start a 1.6 assessment. You'll be starting the 1.7 with the fresh question set. But if you've already purchased your 1.6 and you have not begun, we've already converted it to the latest version, so you'll be on the latest version. If you have an in-progress 1.6, you will have a 6-month period to finish and close out your 1.6 assessment to a finalized status. So that would be your ASC assessment self-complete if you do not plan on going through the verification program. However, most assessments do go through the verification program and will need to be in a VRF, which is your verification finalized status, again, within a 6-month period, which I believe takes us to October 10th. So 6 months from today. At that point, we will no longer be supporting this older version of 1.6. If there's anything I missed, please feel free to chime in.
Yeah, so supporting 1.6 means that anything that is still in progress and not in verification finalized status will be deleted, and your assessment will then be deleted. You can no longer work with your 1.6 assessment. Of course, any assessments that you have closed out already, they will be supported and you can still continue to share them.
Great, thank you, everyone. Next question is, will the new version of the CAF mean that facilities have to answer more questions?
Yeah, so actually with the change from version 1.6 to 1.7, there has been changes in the number of questions. If you go to our second link that I shared in the chats, on our help desk there, you can also see the difference file, the diff file between version 1.6 and 1.7. And in that Excel document, you can see the major changes. And in the major changes sheet, actually, you will see the difference very clearly between version 1.6 and 1.7. We also have it on our webinar as well. But basically, there are a few less questions now in step 1 for version 1.7, but there are a few more questions in step 2 for version 1.7, and then just less than a handful of additional questions in step 3 for version 1.7. So I wanted to add here that normally when people talk about SLCP, they usually say, wow, it's such a big tool. There are almost 1,000 questions in step 1, and there could be around 1,500 in step 2, and then 2,000 in step 3. It's correct that we do have a lot of questions, but we have inbuilt conditionality. So looking at assessments that were done in the past year from February 2024 to February 2025, we have statistics that show on average that a facility had to answer 370 questions in step 1, around 880 in step 2, and 995 in step 3. So again, although there are potential up to 1,000 questions, almost 1,000 questions in step 1, on average, actually, a facility only answers 372 questions. So you can see there a big difference in what is potentially the scope, but what is realistically the scope. So we don't actually have any facility ever answer all of the almost 1,000 questions in step 1 because of our inbuilt conditionalities. So keep that in mind as well.
Great. Thank you, Suzanne. So we have a couple more questions here. Please, we do have time for more Q&A. So if anyone has any additional questions, please drop them in the Q&A function at the bottom of your Zoom screen. But we will answer these a couple of more questions and then obviously any additional. So why is the total score not visible on the platform? Aureen, I'll let you take that one.
Yeah, as I've explained earlier, the total score was a one-weighted score and was not able to give a right picture. So we wanted to give facility a more opportunity to have a specific in detail action plan. That's how we thought we will have section, risk, and step score, and give a specific things where a facility can look at it, have a action plan and work on it. So that's the reason the one total score was been removed in during the CAF 1.5, that is, I think, in 2023. So that's how it was been removed.
Thank you for covering that again. Okay, great. So last question, I think, is just a recap again. We've got Cascale, Worldly, and SLCP all on the call. So what is, again, just a recap of how are we all tied into FSLM and the CAF 1.7?
I think we can make it very simple here. SLCP is the owner of CAF, which develops the CAF with many stakeholder engagement and look at the governance day to day, and they develop the CAF. And when the CAF has been developed, which has been adopted, and the backbone of FSLM, which is Facility Social Labor Module, with the add-on services with risk methodology and scoring methodology, that is being handed over to the Worldly platform, where it is being with the Worldly platform displaying for a self-assessment and verification, and all the where the reports and everything is being displayed. To keep it very simple to say, one is developing a tool, another is displaying in the platform, and with the add-on benefit with Cascale's methodology. Suzanne and Adelaide, if you have anything to add.
No, I think that was very clear. Thanks, Aureen.
Perfect. Those are all of the questions. If anyone has any last minute questions, please feel free. We do have a couple more minutes to drop those in. Otherwise, I think we ended a couple minutes early today.
Yeah, with that, I would say thank you. Thanks for everyone for joining. Understand we had many information. It might take time for processing. We have email IDs from all the three organizations. Please reach out to us if you have any kind of information or clarification, or if you want to have a meeting also. It would be we can reach out to these email IDs, which is displayed in the slide. Thanks for today's webinar, attending today's webinar. With this, I would conclude for today's presentation. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.